This is the Koori Knockout Podcast. We're joined by Toby Keys from the Boomerangs, one of the Boomerangs faithful, one of the big boys, and Dean Witters here again for the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All the talk is about the rangs.
Yeah, it's a big
2024, the rangs.
There's a little bit getting around.
What's going on? Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
So I think everyone's already knows that we've broken away. We're under the Boomerangs Sporting Club now. So we had a conversation a few years ago. We were going to do it a few years ago and we sort of kept putting it off. The idea sort of around it was we wanted to make it into a sporting club to give the young fellas, not just back home, but anyone sort of affiliated with us, a chance to play not just rugby league, but the women's. We're going to put a women's knockout side in the net for the netball.
Yeah, mate.
We'll send a side to LS7s. So we just sort of thought, why not now, and we'll give it a go.
Yeah, there's
no bad blood or there's no bad history or anything between us, and we still got predominantly Maori fellas in the side. We're just going under a different sort of.
So it gives you a chance to be a part of everything too.
Yeah, that was probably the driving factor in the end, was just because we wanted to do. We got kids in that. A lot of the boys that play have all got kids in that they're all into rugby, and it's like out in small communities sometimes to get days off school and that we play rugby, we play league, we play cricket. So we sort of wanted to just venture out and do a bit of everything.
It's a tough challenge, Tobes, because you would have grown up with that Boomerang spirit. The same way I grew up with Ngā and Eel spirit. Like it's a very special thing for people from our communities, It's something that we love. But it's true that these days our kids, like my kids have never lived in Armidale.
Yeah.
Dennis's kids have never lived in Armidale. We're all spread out in all different communities. Same way a lot of the Moree boys now, they live in so many different communities, people and families from Moree.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you've got a team back there that plays in the comp in Group 19, the Boomerangs and Ngā, because they want to keep them teams together and stuff and go to the knockout, but it leaves the blokes who've got their connections and their roots back home and their friends that they want to bring to try and win the knockout. It leaves you with nowhere to go sometimes. It's a difficult thing to face.
It is difficult because, like you said, we've had years back home with the Rangs where they'd go and win, like we won the Group 19 comp for however many years in a row. And the reserve grade, I think, did 9 from 10.
Wow.
So, but there was people like me and the Chris's and Caleb Bingers and Brad Ty and Jade Porter and stuff that weren't living in Moore at the time. And it's sort of hard to go back there at the knockout and, expect to get it. You almost expect a jersey, but you don't at the same time because you feel bad that someone that's back home has probably earned the right more than you, and you go back in there and you're sort of taking something from them. So I guess every small community faces that, like you would definitely with Narwhal and stuff. This is just an opportunity for us to not really have to face that now, I guess, so much.
Because there's a generation lost at Moree, I believe. Like, I remember through the 90s, 80s, 90s, they were the most special team to watch at the knockout, and they'd attract the crowds. They had the players there and the style of football, and the Boomies were always right up there. And Jade Porter and Brad Ty are probably two of the players who, they were the next young leaders of that side, I felt, as a young fella growing up.
100%.
And very passionate about their community, and when they put that Rangs jersey on, both those players there would bleed for it. But they haven't been able to spend as much time in the Rangs jersey because of the community politics and that same battle that you talked about there. And I feel that under Brad and Jade, the Rangs sort of lost an era there, or a generation of teams that would have been right up there playing, because they didn't have those two sort of leading the way. And I don't know the ins and outs of the community, but it was a difficult time, and it's good to see us start rebuilding now, but in a different way.
Yeah, I think like a couple of my early years with the Rangs, I thought were some of the best teams that I've ever been a part of. In 2010, 2011, 2012, we had all the lads that, like the Brad Tys and the Jade Porters, a few fringe lads that were in the 20s. And I felt like at that stage we were in a real good spot. Like I think it was 2012 we got beat on the last game on Sunday against Minda to get onto the Monday, just after that Lapa incident. And I thought that after that year we could go on, like if we kept the same boys together, we could have went on and done something special, but it just wasn't to be in the end.
What do you remember about your first knockout experience?
Yeah,
How old were you?
I was 16. I was just about to turn 17. I turned 17 the back end of October, so I was 16. I actually played with Pindari, and I played there because my old man said to me, "If you play, I'll have a run." So
That's cool.
it was the only time I've ever gotten to play with him, which was cool. And we ended up drawing the Koori Boomerangs first game. So yeah, that was a bit different.
What was that like, bro? Who was in that Boomerang side? What do you remember of that first game going up against the Rangs?
They had the big dog like Benny Roberts and Tyzy and that were there, Jade.
What was it? 2009 in Armidale?
Yeah, in Armidale. Yeah, 2009. So I remember I just finished the school year actually. I was at Farrer at the time, and I grabbed that Matty Allwood. I said, "Bro, you want to come play in the knockout?"
Oh,
So
yeah.
I introduced him to the knockout actually. He hadn't played until that. And he goes, "Yeah, bro, keen as." He goes, "Who'll be playing?" I said, "Oh, the Koori Boomerangs." He goes, "What are they like?" I said, "Pack your mouth guard and your headgear, buddy, because you're probably going to need it."
Keep your bumpers up.
Yeah, 100%. Run with your bumpers up.
Were you big then too? Were you?
Yeah, I've sort of always been like, I like
human.
to say big boned. I was big then. I was still like tall enough and that, but I was quite fit back then.
Yeah.
I'd never really done any sort of training or anything back home. It was only until I went to boarding school that I sort of got into it. Took me footy seriously, and they ran a pretty good program at Farrer, so I got fit. I was fit then.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I remember we were just about to run on, and I could just remember like seeing across and like looking at Big Dog because I grew up idolising him. I also remember all the times that he used to knock people out and like hit them that hard that he'd
One of the toughest forwards to play in a knockout.
Yeah.
He's
100%.
hard for the Rangs.
100%.
Did you get the chance to run at him or?
I had the chance. I don't know if I actually ran at him, but I tried to run between him. Yeah, no, it was good. That was good. It was probably one of my best knockout memories, is just because I got to play with my old boy.
Yeah.
Before he sort of, he had called it quits years before that, like 15
Got
years
that one
before
chance,
but
though.
He was I think he was 50, and he just said, "Fuck it, I'll have a run with you if you do this year," and that's it. And he played about 3 minutes. He come on, made 3 tackles, and he still had the old school, like, you know, from dummy half, where they used to, like back in the day, used to pick the ball up with 2 hands, get real low, and like they just throw it, the stiff arms and that, scoop it up. He still had that one, and he never made a tackle above the kneecaps. So it was just all bootlaces.
That's
They had the
mate.
old school like technique.
Old Norm Boy specials.
Yeah, it was good.
What was that? Farrer. Was that when you had a good team there? Because there was a few years that Farrer had a decent school side, didn't they? Was
Yeah.
Benny Jones around that?
Nah, them boys had finished. They were a little bit older, but their year, like I think I had like Tommy Leroy Loves and Alan
PJ
Tongue and all
Taylor.
that.
Big hit.
PJ Taylor, yeah.
they all had they had a really good couple of years back when they were sort of year 11 and 12, and then I got sent there in year 11. We had a real good side as well. We went on to win the Rivalries. It was the first time since.
Really?
Yeah.
Who just have in the team?
Matty Allwood was there. I think we had about 8 or 9 lads that were signed in the 20s, which was like, you know what it's like coming from the country. It doesn't it's sort of unheard of, but we had
Well, it's unheard of that a countryside goes on to win.
Yeah, so we had Matty Allwood, myself was there. There was a guy named Ryan Poole was there. Kyle Eathford. There's a couple you probably wouldn't know all these fellas, but good footballers and
Good tough country boys.
yeah, they were, man.
Boys.
That was pretty much the how we beat a lot of the big. We'd come down here and played in Endeavour one time, and they were huge, man. Like,
Yeah.
They made me look small. Like their wingers were bigger than our front
Who
rowers.
did they have?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I know when we played Eaglevale, they had like Vi Tautai and Jacob Loco and all them sort of lads.
right.
We beat them in the final.
Yeah,
so.
fuck, they're big boys too.
But yeah, that was sort of our outlay, was just we had a tough country side that we weren't the most skillful, but a lot of the boys there just loved footy and loved to get down and into it sort of thing. So we were lucky enough to beat a few of them sides.
And so now you've gone on and you're getting a lot of knockout experience over the years. What's been one of your most memorable knockouts?
The most memorable
Aside
knockout.
from your first, obviously.
Yeah, probably I'd say in 2012 would be right up there. That was I thought that was the best knockout side I've ever played in.
Newcastle, eh?
Yeah, that was when we got beat by Minda going into the Monday when Cody and that beat us at Minda. That was a bit of everything, that, because we played the Lapa, that big incident that happened with Lapa. That was just before that, but definitely the most memorable because of the way it was all set up. We got all the way from checking in, like we didn't have. I think we had 10 rooms, so we had to share rooms, and it just was from the feeling of like the moment we got into camp to the moment we left. It was like you could just tell it was a special sort of weekend. And there was no shit, like no, everyone got along. We were there to do a job, and all 25. Like, you know, when you get to the knockout sometimes, or you probably don't have this so much, but you get to the knockout and you get people that young kids especially. They think that it's about the party, and you know what I mean. Like, that was the first year that I'd gotten in, and a lot of the older heads said, "Listen, we're here to win the knockout. We're not coming for second place. We want to win it, and if you want to go and party, there's the door. Don't let it hit on your way out. We'd rather go with 20 lads that want to win than 25 and 5 that want to party, you know." So it taught me a lot of like valuable lessons that year as well. Like them sort of lessons that I was able to sort of, as I become a bit more of a leader as the years went on with Moree, I sort of was able to say that to the younger kids. And
well, you said there was an issue there between Lapa and Rex. Now, is there actually a problem between Lapa and Moree, or is it people beating it up? Because there's good people from both communities.
Yeah,
and
I don't think it's. I think it.
They just had some fiery games.
It's a rivalry that got strong over the years with footy, with knockout footy, and I think a few years prior there was a little bit of like push and shove and stuff when the boys played, but I don't think it's like anything. You know what I mean? There's mad rivalries in the knockout. But at the end of the day, if you can't have a rivalry and just keep it on the field and not like, you know what I mean, and just make it about football, then you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons.
So there's no talk before the game?
It was like there's you know what it's like you would hear when the Rangs play, there's always talk. And they make it as personal as they can, but it's for the greater cause of wanting to win. Like, you know, like as passionate as they all are out there, they still just want to win. Like,
the Now and Moree thing's a real thing, isn't it?
It's one of the.
I'm bringing you. That's why they sat you on the other lounge here to keep the distance between us. But that's a real rivalry because both communities are probably so closely connected as well. Because my sister married a Moree man, and Dennis's sister married a Moree man. Like we're surrounded by it.
I think you just touched it on when Den was on here the other day. Like the communities are so close, it almost feels like you're playing against your own people with like. With Moree and Nolan, and I think it's healthy as it's. You want it like I think you just touched on it. Like it would be nice to see the communities back there still going strong and still having them fiery knockout teams, games against each other. They're some of the greatest games I've been involved in. In fairness, like not just at the knockout, either in Group 19 when we had to go to Armidale on a cold fucking winter's day when it's -2 and snowing on the hills. And you've got to, if you can't get up for that, just knowing that you're playing for the Rangs against no one, then, like I said, you're probably in it for the wrong reasons and you want to just go back to where you come from.
You know what we used to do when the Rangs were coming over? So we know the Rangs were coming over, they'd water the ground in the morning and then also they'd hose the sheds out. They'd hose the Boomie shed. Yeah, so the poor Boomies go in there and they'd be sitting in there and the seats are all wet and it's cold, and we'd watch them when they'd come out to warm up. They'd all be wearing their jackets and tracksuits. They weren't in foot. Where our rule was that you had to strip right down to just wear your shorts and your jersey out. You wasn't allowed to wear no jacket warming up because we want them to intimidate in the mental game straight away. So I know going to Armidale is not the coldest or most horrible place.
I'm
to
sure
play.
We caught you one time out there hosing the thing. Drove in there, and it's like it's cold but it's like today. It's like there's not a cloud in the sky. And I go to, I'm sure it was old Uncle Warren Sampson. I said to him, Uncle, did it rain over here? Has it been raining over here? He goes, no, it's fucking no rain at all. The field was soaked.
It's always wet the field.
He goes, he reckons, they must have just kept the sprinklers on last night and didn't turn them off.
They're good.
It was unreal.
Best thing to see is a couple of Moree lads and you're rubbing them into the wet grass. They just hate it. Get them out of there.
100%.
Well, tell us about, because you just touched on Wok, and Wok was certainly a passionate Moree player. But you played in that Armdale knockout, and that Moree side that we played them in the grand final, Arm versus Moree in the grand final, and won the game after the siren we did. They led all the way through. But that had some good players in Lawak Sampson. You mentioned Brad Ty, but Trevor Ty was a good player there. It was some of the ones you looked up to at the ranks there. Benny was in that side.
Yeah, Benny.
John Boy Craigie.
Yeah, John Boy, and as a front row, it was I sort of idolised. Before when it was just about Moree, I sort of idolised, Big Dog and John Boy. Trevor was good. Because they weren't too far, like Big Dog wasn't really that far past my brother's age. So I actually spent a lot of time with him as a little fella as well. But some of the others, like Alfred Bruce and Munro and stuff, they were really good. I always loved watching Uncle Walk play. I felt like for how little he was over time, he was very passionate and very tough.
He was a fiery one, for the Boomerangs.
Tricky too, very tricky.
Gets in there, mate. You could hear him before the game going off his head, and this little fella, but he'd come out and
that was the thing about him. He was very loud, but he'd always back it up. Like he was a tough little footballer, man.
Some of the backs I remember playing against Matt Munro. I remember Mark Pegas was outstanding play. Obviously, you had some boy Peckham there, and some of them geniuses from Moree. They could play football, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think it. But it's not so different. It's still not so different these days. Still get you really good footballers from out there in this day and age. Just back then, I don't remember watching a whole heap of footy growing up, but I always remember hearing like stories of your son boys and Matty Munros and that. They were good footballers.
Who's the good young players now in Moree, brother, that need to be recognised, particularly since you started playing knockout sort of 10, 12 years ago? Who's the ones that you contribute now to this Moree side? There's been a lot of good players.
Yeah, I feel like young, like ones that are sort of in your mid-20s now, like Mark Pegas, he's unreal, like an unreal talent. Lachlan McGrady, he's a good mate of mine. He's a younger fella, but he's same thing. He's only small in stature, but he's as tough as they come. Like
plays that rang style, young Lockie.
He plays that real rang sort of style. Very tricky with the ball. Really good with the ball, and he's one of them fellas. If you put him in the middle, like if you had to, you put him at 9 or something. He's more of probably a 6 or 7 or a 1. But if you put him at 9, he'll just no man's too big enough mentality for him. Like he'll get in there and mix it up with him, and you know that if you put him in there, like I did, I had to put him in at the middle in the knockout that just went against the Yowies, and I didn't blink an eye because I just knew that if I put him in there, it was only going to be for 5 minutes to give my cousin a spell at 9. If I put him in there, he was just going to aim up and. He did exactly that. Like he's only small as man. I think he told me afterwards. I asked him. He broke his leg during the year, and hadn't played a lot of football during the year. And I asked him after the knockout. I said, "Hey, bro, how heavy were you?" And he goes, "Oh, he was lucky to be 60." And he's in the middle, just mixing it up with him. Like you could tell that he's obviously small because he might get put on his back or he wouldn't win the play the balls, but he'd throw all 60 kilos at him. And he's just one of them.
One thing I always say about that is like people talk about teams having a stacked team or a lot of NRL players and that. I think 9 times out of 10 I'll pick the bloke who's going to put his body on the line when you're down and out versus a bloke who's not there for the right reason. Every day of the week I'm putting them in because you know that the knockout's harder than just being there because you're a big name.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of heart. It takes a lot of blood and sweat.
100%. I think I was just listening to a bit of Benny's stuff there. That he pretty much summed it up like about, not taking jerseys for granted. I feel like it's probably an opinion that not everyone's going to get along with, but I feel like there's a lot of NRL boys out there that they play NRL, but they come back to the knockout and they're not exactly. They don't light the world on fire sort of thing. And I'd agree with you. There's plenty of people out there that I'd take over. There's no disrespect to them. There's plenty of people I'd take over NRL players any day of the week, knockout side, purely because you know what they're going to do for the jersey. And it's not just it's sometimes like with Moree and your Walgets and, Tumlas and all that and Narwans, it's embedded into them. Like they've grown up all their life wanting to play for it. You'd rather give that sort of person a crack than bring in someone that doesn't even know how to spell Moree or you know what I mean?
The big thing, like I recall, is back in them days, is you didn't fear stack sides, you didn't fear NRL players. But your communities work really hard. They trained hard leading up to it. And some of the communities, and this is probably my thing with Narwhal these days, is they don't train as hard. They don't work as hard for the 12 months of the year and getting their bodies right. Like football's gone up levels now since back in those days that you've got to come to the knockout compete. You've got to be in the gym. You've got to be training hard. You've got to be making sure you're running a couple of times a week and really putting in effort leading into the knockout. I'll be honest to say that there's a lot of country teams out there now that'll do 1 or 2 sessions before they go into the knockout and think that that's going to be good enough to compete. Where back in the days, we'd go for months and we'd train every day, and every other community would too. And that's why those country sides with passion like Koori and they were feared because of that. They got to get back to that.
They have to. I don't know where it has to go for it to get back to that sort of stuff, but you're right. Like even when I first come in to that 2012 side, there wasn't one bloke that wasn't from Koori, and whether they had been living away and had come back for it, a lot of them boys made the sacrifice to come back to Koori a month out if they were playing in different comps, and they sort of just stay with their family, and we trained all the way up to it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's how you build a community spirit.
I lied actually. There was 2 lads that were brought in from outside, but everyone else was 23 from Koori, and I felt like that was their best team.
Well, I think one of the teams that's probably leading the way for the Western teams at the moment is Burke Warriors. Burke Warriors, you look at them for the last 4 or 5 years, they've looked like one of the fittest teams at the knockout, and I think that they're really setting the standard for Western teams is that, or a lot of the country teams, is that you've got to turn up fit. You can't sit there and complain about losing if you didn't put in the work to lead up to it. You've got to be ready to be able to play 4 days of footy. Yeah. Because you might get lucky in that first game, but to be able to stick it with everyone for the 4 days.
Yeah, 100%. I like what Burke's all about too. I've got a lot of close mates that are out there with Tony Pello and Tool who runs it. I think they really have set the standard, and it's really good to see. But you're right, like you can't. A lot of people will be complaining about going there and getting dusted by a stacked side, but not giving themselves any opportunity to actually compete with them. Like them days are long gone where you can roll up with a bunch of boys that have been drunk for the last week and decide they want to try and win a knockout. Them days are gone. Like
you might get one game.
Yeah, that's right. You're not going to go through and be successful. And I think that's going back to what they said to me there in 2012. That was sort of what the mentality I took from that year onwards, because I was like that too when I was 18, like 19. I used to go there and think it was, the party was as good as the football, but it's not. People.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's not. There's not until
everyone goes for a different reason.
Yeah, 100%. If you're not playing, then do your best.
Because I remember as a young man, and this was at a time when we get knocked out first game, second game. Yeah. We know that we're going to might have a mad game on the Saturday, but that Saturday night after party, you were you're pumped for it, and even just to do the laps around the ovals, because you're in decent shape around that time too. Get the singlet on, good weather. It's people go there for different reasons, and all teams go there for different reasons too. So
100%. I've got there's no. I shouldn't have said it like that. That's 100% right.
If you're going there to win it,
but if you can't expect to go into a team with say you got 20 lads there that want to win it, and you've got a couple that don't. Time costs
absolutely
costs everything. You know what I mean? And if you're going to go there and not put your best foot forward and just go out and think it's just a party, and then you let down the other 20 blokes you got there. Yeah. Like I'm the first person, as soon as we lose, I'm at the, you know what I mean? I'm at the pub and getting around it. But I just think as I've gotten older, I've sort of wanted to, I want to win one more than anything. And it's just I feel like if you're going to come and be around it and be about it and save the party and for after.
Tell me this, Tobe, because your hot property. Now, a good, big front rower who can pump out minutes, you're the person that probably 10 teams have been missing that would have gone on to win the knockout. You see, Cabbo and Bungelang over the years are probably one front row away from getting there. Even Toomala, another perfect example. If they had, a Toby Keys in there, that's probably the difference in them going all the way. How much pressure do you feel going into a knockout knowing that you could be the difference between your team winning and losing a knockout?
Yeah, I think like I touched on before, like I go to the knockout to win now, and I don't have a great record I haven't won one, but every year I go there trying to win. So I do feel a little bit of pressure getting there because I'm an older head now as well. Like people, when things get tough and games are in the balance and they look for someone like we've just had a little push and shove or something. You know what it's like. You got a team full of sort of young fellas, and then you got your older heads, and we get the penalty, and the other team wants to take your head off, and they go like you're the person that has to take that next run. So you do
excited for them.
Oh, 100%. They're my favourites. The kickoffs and them are my favourites because I think Benny, you're talking to Benny about like before. There's certain players in teams that you just, no matter how hard you try, you can't get your hands on them. But if you run off the kickoff or you get a run off the tap, you get a chance to find some of them fellas that have been fucking causing you hazard for the whole game, and you can try and get one on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can. Square.
But unfortunately, you don't get to use your shoulders, but you get to you can do it other ways. So I love them ones, man. I do. I've got to say.
Right, you talked about 10 teams would love him. I remember when he played for Griffith in that knockout, there was about 10 teams that thought they had him because everyone was telling me that day when they were talking about their teams, Toby's playing with us. I'm like, who's this bloody Toby playing with? He's in every team. He's listed in every side. But you played with Griffith in that knockout and you'd made the final, the closest you've gotten to win one. How did that feel? What was that like?
So that year was actually a bit of a giggle because it was I had been hit up by a few different lads, and I said no. I was going back to Moree because the year before I played with Bloodlines. It was the first time I ever stepped away from Moree. So, and then I was going back to.
Tell us about that Bloodlines team first, actually, because you looked red hot on the first day. I remember watching you. It was out at Dubbo knockout, and you had this great side. There was Queensland Cup players, good NRL players, Jimmy Roberts, and you looked red hot day one.
Good.
Adrian Davis was in your team, and we turn up the next day and you fall apart. What happened?
I think the boys got. I think the party one day said they were going out for a quick slap and come back at 4 a.m. So that was a good side too, and we were red hot. I thought. That was probably the most confident I'd gone into a knockout, thinking that we could do something, just knowing the boys we had in that side. And then, I think we played Castlereagh All Blacks, the first game on Sunday morning. And we beat them, but they put us to the sword there. They were in the game up until about the 38th minute.
Good team, Castlereagh.
Yeah. And
Sleeper.
They sort of just... you know what it's like playing them, where they've just got all them young, like they tough country sort of lads as well. They took a bit of zap out of us going into that Lapa game, and in fairness, we sort of shot ourselves in the foot there. We sort of didn't really play to our strength, I guess you could say, but they definitely played a part in that. They sort of made us a bit sore and tired.
Whole draw.
Yeah, man.
It can get you. That's 100%. That's why it's so hard. People think, it's the best team. No, it comes down to the draw.
The luck of the draw.
But then the next year you go and drawing with Andrew Fafita and Nico Hines was in the Griffith team. That must have been a special team.
That was a special team. That one was pretty cool for me because so I actually went to Griffith because of my late great Reggie Saunders. So the year before, like for years and years, me and him had tried to tee up that we'd go play in a knockout together because both front rows and like we were good mates, and he always tried to get me to Minden. He tried to get me to Yowies a few times, and I just said to him, bro, I'm not leaving Moree. Like you'll have to come out here or we'll just play in a little one. And then we ended up, the 1 year I left, I went to Bloodlines that year before, and we started front row together, so we finally got one. And then that year I was actually sitting down talking to him about where he enjoyed playing his knockout footy the most, and he said Griffith. He said it was a real good vibe around there. Robbie John, that sort of looks after all the boys, and it was really good. So he had obviously passed, and then the next year, my two cousins went out there with Andrew and that. They sort of went out there, and I asked them. I said, just ask them if they've got a spot out there for me because I'll have a year. Given that we were all gonna that was our thing. We were gonna go out there one year when we were all older and play one knockout together, all of us, me and a few of the other boys. And then Robbie, they must have asked, and Robbie John rang me and he goes, you keen to play? I said, yeah, 100%. And all the years I've been in the knockout, I've never cared about what number you get, nothing like that. I didn't care if I was number 25 or what position I wanted, but that year I said to him, if I come, I want number 10. I want that jersey. And we were just lucky enough that we had a pretty good side that got us through to the Monday, and we got beaten the granny. But that was the same thing. The draw I feel like the draw sort of made it really hard for us in the end. Yeah, on paper, and there's no disrespect to the South Coast side, but on paper we had a good side. It was just that I don't know who they played. I don't know their side of the draw, but I know we played Nolan Saturday morning at fucking 9 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. And it doesn't matter who they've got. If you're playing them first thing in the morning, you're going to be sore and sorry the next day. And then the semi against that Waterloo side, they probably won. They probably won the game for South Coast more than we lost it for ourselves. Like that, we put everything into that game. There's not many knockout games I've gone into and thought we're probably a chance of getting beaten. I don't think there's been any until that day. I thought the side they had on paper, I thought there was we had a heap of injuries too. Like, as good as our side was, we went into that game with about 15, I think, 16 players.
Makes it hard.
Yeah, and then they were
knockout. You get through to the Monday.
So
didn't Walgett down in South Coast?
So we they took a lot of zap out of us going into the final, and then the South Coast fellas just blew us off the park.
You just didn't touch the ball for how long? 18 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
I remember commentating. It was just one way. You could just see they went out and they had energy, and you guys were drained. The semi-final took it out of you. Didn't recover. Like you said, your draw was tough throughout. You had a lot of big boys. It was hot. It was and they were really good. In fairness to our credit to them, they were really good. They did get a lot of the bounce of the ball though. Like I've never been in a knockout game where you've just been blown off the park. Like any chip and chase they did, they got the bounce. Like they threw a cutout ball, and you'd think that it's going over the sideline. Somehow it just dipped down, and someone would catch it. And just freaky stuff. And that's what I mean. Credit, they had a really good, skillful side, but they just got the bounce of the ball. And I remember you actually. There was a. The whole running someone down.
the whole South Coast crowd was in the far corner.
Yeah.
And I remember coming off, I think it was in the first 12 minutes, and I swear all we did was defend the whole time. And I remember they were giving it to me. They were giving me stick. They were into me bad.
Oh, they had a vocal little crowd.
Dean come and grabbed me. I remember he come and grabbed me and said, "Hey, come up towards the bench here," because I was starting to get a bit wound up about it. But that was the first 12 minutes. I feel like all we did was just defend. And about the 18th to 20 minute mark, they were up, I think, 18-0. And then I remember we got back to, I think it was 18-10. And, it wasn't. It was, might have been 20-something to 16 or something like that. And I remember we were sort of back in the game, and we were behind the post, and I said, lads, this is an 80-minute game. Like, all we need to do is just slow this.
Stay with them.
If we stay with them for a little bit longer, we're going to get the bounce of the ball and things can change. But
that defence would have zapped you, though.
Yeah, after the defending in the semi-final, we were just gone, man. There was a lot of us boys that were, like I said, we went into that game with 15, and a lot of us boys that were still there were going in with fucking sore, niggly injuries. But that's the luck of them.
They had the passion, that South Coast side. Like a lot of good players there. We find later, but the passion they had of coming together, representing the South Coast, being in the finals, and geez, they were pumped. Their crowd was pumping them, the energy they had,
100%.
and it was what beat Griffith, in that game. I think they play each other any other time during that whole knockout. You're probably looking at Griffith for the win, but that's not the way the knockout works. That's why it's so hard. And
it's hard. It was weird too, because it was, like I said, it was my second year playing with anyone other than Moree, and you know what Moree's like. We're known for having the biggest crowds.
Yeah,
that South Coast crowd, man, in the grand final. That was crazy. I got a bit of my own medicine. I was getting what
it's like when they all hate
100%. Yeah, they were into me. But they did really. Their whole campaign, as far as I know, was really good. Like the supporters got around them. They did have a really good side. You Dill Farrells and JD Andersons and
good
stuff.
Good crew there.
Yeah, good crew.
Tell us a little bit about this Rings crowd, because we've talked about it on nearly every episode.
Yeah, it's special, man. It is special. It's almost like.
You're getting goosebumps a bit.
It is special because I've played in a lot of different carnivals, knockout teams, rugby league teams over my years. I've never experienced anything that's like the Ranks crowd. Like it wouldn't matter. I remember some knockouts, man. We'd get there on the Friday night, get together and, it was never a mention of who we were playing. It was just at what time we're playing, because we didn't care. We didn't care who we were playing. And then you get down there and like you warm up and stuff, and then you start seeing all the crowd roll in. And when you're doing the ball work and that, and there's a field over there, and you start seeing all the yellow or all the yellow and red, you just think, fuck, they're starting to build in here.
That's
and you
cool.
start getting that feeling of like, it doesn't matter who we're playing, it doesn't matter who the fuck they've got. We've got a whole community behind us, and it does give me goosebumps because it's special, man. And you get that famous huddle that you get into before you run out, and they take it in to the corner of where you're playing, and you got the whole one side of the field plus all the in-goal is all Moree people just screaming the same chant. It's it might be a couple of hundred, could be 1,000, but it feels like there's 80,000. Like I've been to Origin games where there's 80,000, and it might sound a bit silly, but the little 500 people that get there from Moree, it almost feels fucking louder.
Oh, they feel like more than 500. I reckon it feels like, the moments in them TV shows, like them Viking shows and that, where the big army comes over the hill. When you're sitting there at that field and you're watching and the rings are coming and their whole crowd just starts coming with them. It sends fear into other teams, and even
for sure,
bro, it builds that energy.
It's hard to play against. I'd say.
100%. It does. It changes everything, man. I feel like it changes. Even sometimes you get like the referees feel
they get frightened to call.
They do sometimes, because I swear, like sometimes I just look at some of the things that the decisions they make as referees. Like we've been cheated more times than not just at the knockout. I'm not saying that. Back home, like it's not 13 versus 13 back home, given it's just always been a thing, but you got to try and take the ref out of it. But sometimes at the knockout, you just got, all them screaming supporters, and and then the game, if there's a game that's starting to get fiery, I'm sure he starts a bit more lenient towards us.
There he goes.
I don't know.
Bro,
Try and calm you down.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just you just see, but it does change a lot of
stuff.
stuff.
A few times, the ref.
Well, the Rings only beat Noel once ever in a knockout.
I've never beaten Dino.
All the times.
The only time I have was with Griffith. When I played with them.
And I didn't play that day, so you got lucky. I wasn't playing.
He was running the water.
But and I give it to Toby as I was running the water.
100%.
But I remember a couple of times playing the Rings, and the crowd, they'd squirt water on you and they'd cheer, and then they're just so loud. They just keep this pump, and you just feel the energy in the field. That's the beauty of that now and Boomerangs crowds when they go on. It's bubbling. Tell us about this year, bro. You hope that crowd gets behind this strong side you've got, because it's no secret. You're going there with a strong side that's capable of winning it, and you're working hard. I can see you're fitter than I've seen for a long time. You're looking really good, and it must mean something to you.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we can still, like I said before at the start of the podcast, we never started this team to, because there was bad blood or anything like that. It was just something that we decided the time was now to try and get a sporting club, and I do hope that people back home get behind us, because it's not like we're going there with a side with no one from Moree. Like there's still going to be, probably the best part of 15 or so, definitely from Moree, and then we'll sprinkle a little bit of other stuff on the outside of that.
And it's the same spirit, right, that the Rangs have always played. And you're looking around that knockout now like everyone does, and you got to make a choice. Do you want to compete with the top sides who are preparing well and putting everything in it, and they're investing in their players and they're looking after their players?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go there and know that you're just going to run into someone in round 2 or 3 that's going to put you out? So you move with the times.
Yeah, 100%. It's no secret that you got to go to the knockout now with being able to look after your players is probably and the players' partners and kids and stuff is probably the biggest thing that you got to be able to do. And we did that really well last year, I thought, when we sort of went in and had a lot of the little stuff like the recovery centres and all that sort of stuff last year, and we just thought now would be a good time to build on that. But I think there's, like, you know what it's like. If you go and play with Redfern, it's not like you can, like, you're still, part of you is still known, and you're still whatever you've learnt from that community and all your people back there, you take with you no matter what jersey you got on. It wouldn't be no different to me going and playing with Walgett. I'd still play that same Maureen, like
Yeah,
the same way. You know
you
what I
were
mean?
actually going to play with us one year, allegedly. Trenny rang me up.
You're one of the 10 teams.
Hey,
I was- that was probably one of the
Toby Keys wants to have a run with us this year. I said, bro, I've heard his name in 10 other teams. Stop taking Toby's calls.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter who you play for. If you, so it'll be no different this year. There'll be 15 from Moree. Whether haven't got Moree in front
Who's
of
some of the names, bro? There's a lot of names out there. You don't have to confirm or deny anything here, but you know,
I'll give you this. I'll give you.
Is Bevan French coming back?
Nah, I don't. I'd love to have Bev there. We have spoken about it because he did play with us in the Dubbo one.
Yep.
So I did reach out to Bev, but he said he'd look. They're more than likely still going to be playing in a final over there. So he did say. Yeah, Dane and Jacob will be there, 100%.
They played with last year. Dane, so
we had Dane. Jacob should have played, but they obviously went on and won the cup, so he couldn't. We signed him on and was hoping
that
that'd be valuable.
are they?
Nah.
Will you get Hoffy or any of them?
Nah, I'd love to get Hoffy too, but he's I think he's going to stay up that way for this year. But we've got a couple.
Adam Elliott, Bradman Best. I'm hearing them.
I don't know where them rumours are coming from.
I talked to Ads, and he said he's playing with Bradman.
Yeah.
So wherever Bradman's playing, I know Bradman's from out that way. He's a Tinga boy, but you know, as Moree convinced him to go.
Well, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't know about all of that, but
so would I be the most surprised man ever if I turn up and then Bradman Best and Adam Elliott are playing for?
You wouldn't you wouldn't be the most surprised person.
Oh, okay, so
I'm not gonna say it's a.
so fingers crossed you can get them too, because obviously
nice,
Gags has got a strong connection.
And then
too.
you've got you and Munns.
Yeah, me and Munns.
Some front rowers there.
There's some mongrel there too.
So it could be a red hot side. Like it's a side that's going to be there, going to contest.
I'm not going to.
Not only that, you've got some great local footballers.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'll take nothing away from the boys that are out there slugging it away out in Group 9 and Group 4. We've got a couple of good young talented lads from back home. It won't be all that much different from last year, but I felt like last year we probably had a good probably 20 players. We actually went into that with 21. Because a few lads
picked up 4.
Nah.
Oh, you didn't pick it up at all?
No, because so we signed Jacob. He was 22.
Yep.
And if we made the Monday, he could have played. But a few lads done the Mickey twist the night before on us.
That's a tough one.
2 days before.
It is a tough one.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll have 15 or so from back home, and then sprinkle a few in from like Daney and Jacob. And
I think if you're going with that Moree madness attitude that you've been known to play with. I think you'll be very tough to beat. I remember that one time when we played against each other down in Wollongong.
Yeah,
Dino, you would have had this sort of experience too.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I felt respected or I was annoyed. I think I was more annoyed at the time because I was only like 32. I took a run and I was on my way down, and Big Tobe come across and he just fucking whacked me, give me a good one right across the chin, and I felt it and I said, "Oh, you cunt!" And I looked up. And he said, "Sorry, Unc." Sorry, Uncle. I thought, come on, you. I didn't know if I was more wild about getting hit in the chin.
Yeah, I'm fighting. Uncle on the field.
I don't know if it was the right word to use. Yeah, but
it's respectful.
Yeah, it was. It's. You know what? It's. I don't know if I've ever told George, but growing up, like I said, in Moree, I had me like people I idolised. But as far as like a young kid that used to look at, Indigenous people playing footy, I used to idolise him as a front rower. So every time I've gotten to play against him or be around it, I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm all ears. But that time I did get one. I didn't actually mean to. In fairness, too, I was very overweight. I was lazy.
I was falling,
and I give him a swinging arm, and I actually I said, Brad, if I actually intentionally done it, like. I said, I really didn't mean to do it. I don't know if he ever believed me or not, but yeah.
I ended up more offended that he called me Unc because I felt like I'm still young and fresh here, surely.
Yeah, 100%. No, there's some of the good ones, eh?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, I've copped more than I've been able to give out in the middle over the years.
So you'll cop a few this year too.
Yeah, I've no doubt.
They'll go for you. They'll come for you. So
join the line because they've been trying to come for a long time, and
I like that.
I think we're all looking forward to seeing the Rangs this year at the knockout. There's a lot of talk about it, and like I said, if you bring that Moree madness attitude, I think this will be very, very hard to beat. And I think for us as a Western team, we'll be cheering you on if we end up fallen out early. So we'll have a few people to support along the way. But thanks for joining us on the podcast today, and wishing you and all the Moree Boomerangs the best for the knockout this year.
Bro. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Well done, Bruz.